Hey world, it's your host Marshall, and thanks for tuning into my podcast, runONthoughts. Here we talk about everything and nothing because we are not afraid to be all of ourselves even as we evolve. And that's my thought for my fellow thought thinkers as we unpack our traumas, past hurts, and other BS. Y'all ready? Let's go. Hey thought thinkers, today we are going to be doing something a little different. The episode that you are about to hear was pre-recorded a few weeks ago. I wasn't sure if I was going to share this episode with you guys, but while we're talking about family and foe, and for me the importance of forgiveness and what forgiveness looks like for me, because you guys know, and I talk about it a lot, that I do not believe in blind forgiveness. So I'm sharing this episode with you guys so that you can have an inside dialogue of what it means to me and what is required for my forgiveness. So without further ado, this episode is going to start like any episode normally would, with me saying thank you. I'm introducing some of my new products because this was going to be my very first episode. So let's get started. Hey thought thinkers, I am so excited to be back. I have been on hiatus because I have been getting some things done. I have written a book which I will be sharing with you guys. It's a diabetic handbook because for most of you that don't know, I have diabetes and I just decided to add some merch, but I wanted to add merch that supported who I really am. I want to take credit for this book, but it was really inspired by my sissy and best friend Christine Kalev, who told me to write about what I know about. So in the future, I do want to write a book for you guys, but I'm starting easy, and I hope you guys can support this book. You can Google my name, Marshall Wilson, on Amazon, and you can look up Everything and Nothing About Diabetes. It's a diabetic handbook that allows you to do a 90-day log of how you eat, of your numbers, of your A1Cs, and it gives you some tips and tricks on how to maintain. If you heard that coughing in the background, today we have a very special guest. With us today is my father, Marvin Wilson. Introduce yourself, Marvin.
Hi, everybody. This is Marvin Wilson. I'm Marshall's father, and I have diabetes. And she really has taught me a lot. And we coming through this together.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know he was going to share that he has diabetes with you guys. He is getting up there in age, and he is a little sickly. And so I'm here with him just sharing some time like I usually do. But today, what we're really going to explore are relationships, the father-daughter experience, and how my father and I got here. Because if you've been on this road with me with runONthoughts podcast, you know that I am not that forgiving. You know that I am stubborn. And you know that the main goal of this podcast is to unpack your childhood, unpack your traumas, and figure out who you really are and who you really, really want to be. I have shared with you guys that I lost my mom to a drug overdose when I was about 8 years old. And I went to live with my father's sister, my Aunt Dot, and she raised me. So my father wasn't in my life totally when I was a young adult, and like all children, we have abandonment issues. During this episode, you will hear him coughing in the background. He also has COPD, so I'm not going to fake it, front it, or act like it's not going on. But he still has some he's led an interesting life, and this life has come full circle, and that's what we're going to be exploring here today. Daddy, tell the people where you grew up and how you grew up, and then we'll get to the us of the situation.
Okay, I kind of grew up in North Carolina. That's not my cup of tea. Let's get that straightened out right now. Right? I'm not a Southern person, even though I was born and raised in the South. I'm a Northern person.
Okay.
Okay, and
was the life in the South hard?
Man, shit. Oh, excuse me.
You can curse.
Yeah, hey, man, shit.
You can curse here.
Man, there's nothing. People that love it, let them love it. It ain't my cup of tea. If you want to be a cotton picking, tomato tobacco picking person, you can have all my dreams.
He says this all the time, guys, and I know there are many people who live in the South who do not have the life and do not live the life that he speaks of.
Yeah.
But being born in 1949, he has had a different experience and has no desire to go back and see that some parts of it has changed. Every time we have visited the South with my father, it seems to have triggers. And the crazy thing about those triggers, please excuse the coughing. I'm not going to say it again. I'm just so that you guys know that it's going to happen, and I don't want him to try to keep it in. But for those of you who understand triggers, when we have traveled down south, I have seen my father's behavior shift to a mean, not nice person. So it's crazy that, right, as a child, I could miss my father because we have this perception about what we think something is going to be. But that doesn't necessarily mean that that was going to be the father that I got if my father had stayed in North Carolina. My hopes were a figment of my imagination based on my present, not necessarily. We can always go back to the past and reconfigure what we think it was going to be.
Right.
But that is our hope. That is not necessarily the reality.
Right.
It wasn't until I was an adult woman that I realized that in the early part of my life, my father was doing the best he could by sending us to live with my aunt, because when I checked them Social Security statements, I realized this Negro didn't have nothing to offer.
Nothing. I was worse than a poor person. Myself was not.
Yes.
I was worse
No,
than
it
a
was
poor.
bad. I was like, whoop.
Yeah, I was worse than a poor person. I ain't kidding. The only reason I wasn't a bum living on the street because I refused. But man, it was rough. And my daughter Marcelle kept me out of. She kept me out from being homeless because she was always there for me. You know, we didn't get along good now in the beginning now.
No, because I'm a tough cookie.
It took man, I had to go down some roads and prove who I was and manage who I was and be there for my grandson. Well, my grandson, he's a different horse now.
Yeah.
You know?
well, that's really how we got here. It's really through the relationship with my son, your grandson, that allowed me to open up just a small portal that was going to let you in. So you could share your relationship about your grandson.
Well, we went down south one time. I think he was 14.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, Kadeem was about 14 years old. And we went down south, me, Kadeem, and a few other nephews, and no, just boys. Mm-hmm. And we went down south and stayed in the hotel. I forgot the name of the hotel, man, but then we raked that thing. Mm-hmm. Then had my sister she tried to step in and be all fancy. And I told them, tear it up if you want to. Your grandfather can pay for it. I ain't have no money, but I was just throwing some words out there. You know how we do grandfathers.
Yeah.
So and he came in the room. Dad went out. He came in the room, and something wrong with his belt. And I fixed his belt for him, and it was fixed perfect. And that's how me and him fell in love.
A belt fixing?
A belt. That's what happened to me and my grandson. And ever since that day, he's been heaven and I've been earth.
But Daddy, you two had a relationship way before that.
I know, but it wasn't like that moment.
Okay.
See, you know when a moment happens.
Yes.
You know when that feeling hits you, and you know when you're riding in a car.
Yeah.
And I told this joke to my grandson. He said it was about a horse and a mule. Uh-huh. He said, how do a horse and a mule have a baby? Uh-huh. I said, very carefully. And he never forgot that.
No, I get exactly what you're saying, but I was very protective
of
my son, and he never even understood, because as far as he was concerned, you were always there, you were always funny, you were always non-judgmental, all of the things, but I was just worried about...
I never talked down to him.
Well, you never really talk down to anybody.
No.
That's one of the things that draws you so much attention, is the fact that You don't judge other people.
No.
You allow your life to keep you humble.
Right.
And not humble in a bad way, which makes you feel like you're less than, but understanding in the way that you understand that people go through things.
Marcia, you and I have some rocky roads now.
Yes, because I'm kind of,
Yeah.
all of my viewers know that I am stubborn.
See, you don't play with me.
I don't really play with nobody.
And I think that's what helped me through a lot of things.
Yeah, because I'm not argumentative. I wasn't one of those kids. I was never disrespectful, or I'm not fighting with you. I'm not calling people names. I have a very high bar of how people are going to treat me.
Right.
And the same thing I told my father. You get to be in my son's life or out. You remember that? We never ever talked about that I said that.
Right. But I remember.
And the way
I chose to
forgave
be
you,
in.
and you chose to be in, I never said anything about it. I let time, effort, and consistency allow you in.
And you know what's the beautiful thing about that, Marshall? Kadeem knows that I'm there.
No, he does know that you're there. He knows that you're there. You two have this silent, quiet relationship that is all knowing, all forgiving, all in, all everything. It doesn't require talk. It doesn't require conversation. It's just, I guess, like God's love. It just is.
The audience, I call him the baby until he was 21.
Sometimes you still call me baby,
Yeah,
the baby.
Yeah.
And he's 30 years old.
And he don't mind.
No, he don't mind. He just say, "Hey, Grandpa."
Yeah.
But that's how. And then what happened was, when I work in Queens, I live in Queens, and you just started showing up at my job every freaking day.
Anytime.
I was like, "What is going on here?"
But I had to get you back, and that was the only way I knew.
I was like, "What is this man doing here every single solitary
And
day?"
you know what, audience? The people at the job liked it.
Yeah, they liked it. They let you come. Nobody else's job would have allowed this mess. But my job allowed it, in particular because my father is he's funny. He's a comic. He's silly. And he's very complimentary. Even Chris, when I came down here this week and said, "Tell him that the guy who you says, 'Hey, handsome,' or 'Hey, good looking,' said hello." And I was like, "Chris, he gives these compliments to everybody. You're not special, kid." And being that I do have a very flexible job, they did allow you. And then I would need something fixed. My father is a contractor, so he would volunteer to fix stuff. And that's how he got my house, y'all.
Yeah.
That he would fix stuff, paint, and do floors. And I had all kinds of projects. And then it turned into projects.
Yeah. Man, but did we start to enjoy one another?
Yeah, and then I invited you to Thanksgiving.
And then, honey, I'm going to tell y'all something. I didn't know nothing about taxes. Marshall did my taxes. I started getting money back. A lot of years we walk around broke, and now we started getting money back on our taxes.
Well, because I'm not really an affectionate person, and I thank you for respecting that. And I'm not affectionate out of a lack of love.
Right.
It's just that doesn't really do anything for me.
Right.
Yeah, I don't need hugs.
See,
and stuff.
I'm affected with certain people.
Yeah, my labor of love is acts of service. So
Right.
you know when I am loosening up and being attached, when I begin to want to see you have a better life.
Right.
If I don't want you to have a better life, Christine says I'm always in somebody's business. And the truth is that I'm always in somebody's business that I care for.
Right.
If I don't care for you, I don't care at all what happens to you. So when I realized that you were so far behind and didn't necessarily have to be,
Right.
that's when I started taking over, and then
Right.
that's when our relationship became reciprocal.
Right. It took off.
Yeah, it took off. I was like, "Daddy, what's wrong with your taxes? Daddy, why you didn't get these raises at this job? Daddy, you know you can take this test.
Right.
Daddy, you can take this test to get more money." He was like, "I can't." And I was like, "Of course you can."
Right. Because sometimes you're afraid of things. You're afraid of being a loser.
Oh.
You're afraid of being a loser. If you don't pass the test, now you're a loser. You know, I don't want to be I don't ever want to be a loser. I never want to be a loser.
You know what's so crazy is that I realized that a lot of men in particular, I'm sure this is true of women, but a lot of men who are not there, the children take on the burden like they were the problem and they feel like they are not wanted. But the truth is that these are generational curses where the exact same way that you feel, your father felt as well. Like he has generational curses. He has abandonment issues too, because so I have also shared in my podcast that you don't have abandonment issues. You know, you don't have issues. Your father had issues.
Right.
And maybe his father had issues.
Right.
And then those issues of you not wanting to be around had nothing to do with me.
And then I was abused.
Yes. Well, a lot of you old timers were abused,
We were
right?
abused, but we had to keep it quiet.
Yes, you grew up in a generation that everything had to be kept on a hush-hush.
Mm-hmm.
You had to push all of your feelings away and push all of your feelings down.
And we wasn't allowed to tell it.
I mean, that part is crazy to me. I can't imagine living in a world where I can't talk, and I'm sure that that's why that's the skill set that God gave me, the power to not just talk, you guys, but the power to speak my truth and live in my truth.
You have to almost wait till everybody died, and then you can tell it.
That's crazy to me.
Yeah,
But I also realize it's a heavy burden, right? I know people whose secrets I am carrying. And the reason why I'm carrying their secrets is because they care more about the living than they do about their own peace.
Right.
And I don't have that, Daddy.
But now you have brought me through that, because now I ain't care about it anymore.
Well, yes. Well, that's what I try to do for everybody. It's like some issues of anxiety, some issues of these panic attacks that my father sometimes has. I realize that, Daddy, a lot of it for you is guilt.
Yeah. And I try to fight through it, but I realize you can't fight through it because guilt is there.
Yeah, you can't fight through anything. You have to go through it.
You have to go
if you're
through,
feeling sad, be sad. If you're
Right.
feeling happy, be happy. If you're
Right.
mad, if you are feeling anxious, whatever you're feeling, you've been taught to brush under the rug.
Right.
And now that you are in retirement, what is happening is that these floodgates have opened up.
Right.
And now that these floodgates have opened up, you have these floodgates of emotions.
And my daughter told me that this was going to happen when I retired.
Yes, because you're a work hog.
Right.
And because you're a work hog and you work 30 years at New York City Housing Authority as a maintenance manager,
Right.
and then you had a construction company,
Right.
I've seen you, the only thing you've ever done is work. You
Right.
never went on any trips. Oh, yeah. I forced you on a vacation, and I knew he wasn't going to be able to say no.
Right. Oh, man, that was some cruise. Child, I ate like a wild animal.
Daddy, was that your first vacation outside of going south?
That was my first vacation, enjoying myself.
Yes.
See, you would always go down south
Yeah.
and eat some sloppy pig.
Yeah.
You know.
Sloppy pig.
You could always go down there, somebody had cooked the chicken on the grill.
Yeah.
See, you always do things like that. That wasn't me. I went because of my family.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go on. I heard the advertising on TV, cruises, going to the Bahamas.
Uh-huh.
I ain't never did nothing like that.
Yeah.
I wanted to do things like that. I keep telling people, man, that's because I was born in the South. I'm not a Southern person.
No, you a city slicker. You
Yeah,
have to be
man, no.
outside and wheeling and dealing.
People ask me where I was born. I wasn't born nowhere. You know.
Do you think that, I mean, I know we had fun on that cruise, and I know that I kind of tricked you into the cruise because it was a cruise to nowhere, guys, and I did that because for all those who had never traveled, I wanted y'all to feel safe, like we wasn't going too far out. And then I knew that once you guys got on the actual ship, that everybody could have fun.
Man, me and my wife had a nice time. I think Marshall, that was 2015.
Yeah, Dad, you still talking about
And
the
it
trip.
seemed like it was yesterday. I can remember the date and time that I boarded the ship.
I think that's because you don't have that many experiences as it relates to adventure and vacation. So that adventure and vacation just sits front and center in your life. But I do recognize that when we took that trip, that was one of the first times where you started wanting to move.
You're right. Wanted a better place. Wanted a better car.
Yeah.
You
Bought
remember?
yourself a Cadillac.
When I got me a new car, y'all, it's pretty too.
Yeah.
Yep, had a nice time. Even started buying myself nice clothes.
Yeah.
You know. I was getting to the point where I didn't give a damn what people said.
Yes, and
Yeah.
you, and all this time, I didn't even realize that you cared so much, and you made yourself the black sheep of the family, and you chose to stay away. But
Right.
now, some of this guilt, because what I want to talk about now in the second part is that I don't think people realize, parents who have strained relationships with their children,
Right.
I don't think they realize that there's also a guilt when those children forgive you.
Right.
Because it's like you've been chasing us for so long, and now that you you've been able to
You
mend
can't.
these relationships.
Right. Not what's next.
Yes, it's like you knew how to
Right.
live in the chase.
See,
but
I want you to understand. I ain't trying. I know now, I can't be your father now. That's past. I can be your daddy.
Yeah,
No, I can't raise you now. See,
Yeah.
you already did that.
yeah,
If you want some questions, answers, or something you want to ask me, we'll go through it together.
yeah.
It's certain that I can't ask you about no boyfriend now.
I mean, you can, and you do.
Yeah, I knock that sucker out.
And that's fine. But it's different for the rules for you
Are different.
are different because this is what I want to address is that most, and I hope that parents can listen to this,
Right.
even parents in my generation, is that most elders have a hard time apologizing and taking responsibility for their role in their children's abandonment
Right.
and or suffering
Right.
or trauma.
Right, exactly.
But you just took all ownership,
Right.
and then you made the actual change,
Right.
and did the actual work.
That's right. 'Cause I'm gonna tell y'all, it ain't easy.
No, it's not easy.
It ain't easy.
But
'Cause
nothing worth having is going to
That's
be
right.
easy.
Cause see, tomorrow you may be frying fish, but money come, you may be frying chicken.
I don't even know what that means.
Well, I'm just telling you, I'm hungry.
You know what I'm saying? But your repair work is why, if anybody questions how I've been able to forgive you, that's how. It's not that I don't remember the past, right? But as an adult, I see it differently. I don't just see you differently, I also see the past differently.
Right.
I recognize that you were broke, po,
Right.
just P-O, not you didn't
That's
even
right.
get the O-O-R.
That's right. And I was leaving some of the O's out.
Yes,
That's I bet people think you got something and you don't.
yeah,
You know, people think, and I wasn't living no fake life.
yeah,
I mean, that was it.
yeah,
You just poor. My goodness. You know, you're trying to survive poorness.
yeah.
And that's bad when you under poor.
No, you're right. It's bad because it also creates a sense of trauma.
Right.
It creates a sense of, as a man, you've been told that you got two jobs to protect and provide. But without resources, you can't do neither. And sometimes abandonment is not about the child.
Right.
It's about that I have nothing to give you.
Right.
And we live in a world that says, then I don't deserve to be a part of your life.
Right. And that's why that's because you make $10 more than me doesn't mean you better than me.
No, because sometimes a person's presence is enough.
Right.
But we live in a world that says that it's not enough.
It's not enough. You got to give until you can't give no more.
Yeah, you got to give until you can't give no more.
Right.
So I do want to tell you that I am proud of you for not letting anyone or anything stop you from maintaining and building a relationship with your children, because sometimes you thank me like, oh, thank you, Marshall, for doing this. And everybody knows that if I didn't want to do it, I would not do it.
Exactly.
I don't do things out of obligation. I don't have that sense of guilt.
Right.
I don't have that.
And you don't have that luxury.
No.
You know, you see, we don't have luxury to be angry and mean.
No, I get to make a choice.
Because
In or out.
I do believe in karma.
I believe in karma too.
I believe in karma now. I believe in karma because karma will get you effed up.
No, you're right. I also believe that you can fix your own karma, right?
I believe too. Fixing your karma is like fixing bad credit.
Yes, you can make amends for the things that we've done, and none of
Right.
us is perfect. We all have made lots of mistakes. We all have done things, but you know, how many babies do you got?
How many babies? Well, 4 girls and 1 boy.
Yeah, because you know, my papa was a Rolling Stone.
Well, no, I ain't gonna say that. Nah, I had me some
Half a stone.
I had me some pretty women. Let's leave it at that.
God, Lord.
Then I told my grandson I never see him walking down the street with an ugly woman.
But the fact that you have children with these women, and that all of your children get along,
Right.
and that we
I
all see
got
our...
a son. I got a son. You know, he loud mouth, but I got him.
We have Jesse, your oldest son.
Right. He passed.
Yeah. And then your oldest daughter is Karen.
Mm-hmm.
She's a baby.
And Shanae.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Jennifer.
Jennifer, she's a baby.
Do you know how many grandchildren you have?
But probably over 100.
Oh, you don't got 100 grandchildren.
No, I ain't got 100, y'all. But I got them. Lord, you should see my wall one day.
Oh yeah, there's the wall of everything. If you're one of my close friends and you know that there's this ridiculous wall in my father's house that looks crazy.
It's the real deal, ain't it, Marcel?
No, it's the real deal, Daddy. It's a deal.
Yeah.
But whatever makes you happy.
Yeah.
So today was just about memories, and it was sharing that although this is lighthearted conversation, the goal of the conversation for me is that sometimes when people have questions like, how did we get here? The father-daughter relationship. I have had many episodes on feelings, on forgiveness, on not forgiving, on feel what you feel. And today is a manifestation of all of those things and how I got to where I am today with my father. Because I would not be here trying to help my father maintain if my father did not do the work. So when he is saying thank you to me, or he's so grateful, or I don't want to burden you, I recognize that those are his own childhood traumas. Right. And like I try to do with you guys, help you unpack, I also do that with my father and try to help him unpack.
And audience, I'm no fake either.
No, you're definitely no fake. So I'm definitely clear that I get that from you, that I know you're definitely not a fake, but you are very...
I'm sensitive now.
Yeah, I'm sensitive too. People don't know
I'm
that.
very sensitive.
That's why I protect my energy.
I'm sensitive when it comes to my children. I'm sensitive when it comes to my children and my grandkids. See, you got to be careful how you speak to me about my grandkids. I got a granddaughter named Toddy Mae. And you got to be sensitive to things you say about her to me.
Well, that's because it's not that you don't love your children and grandchildren, but Tati and Kadeem, you feel like they accept you unconditionally.
I can't do no wrong.
And that's a feeling that you've never had before.
Right.
Because people say I love unconditionally, but that's not true. We all have conditions. Well, most of us have conditions, but they don't have conditions for your love. Do you know what you would want your legacy to be?
No, I never thought about that. When I leave here, I just want to be a kind-hearted, good, loving human being.
Well, you're definitely that. You're definitely one of the nicest people that I have ever met in my life. Nobody would ever call me that, but you are one of the nicest, kindest people. And I actually sometimes think that you are too nice. And what that means is because nice just means that you're agreeable, right? And I don't necessarily need for you to be agreeable.
Right.
And I believe that some of your traumas and some of your anxiety comes from the fact that you are nice and agreeable. And what that means is that you are always trying to make people comfortable.
I'm always trying to make people happy.
At the expense of your happiness.
Right.
So when people recognize that I'm the exact opposite, it's because I watch you try.
But it's confusing to them.
Yes. Well, because usually people who are that nice, you are usually the scapegoat, right? You make yourself the scapegoat. And what that means is that, I use this word in the episode, I can't think of it right now, but you are the, what's the thing when people dump things off on you?
Sucker.
Hey, the word is not sucker.
Okay.
And one of these, but sucker is good enough.
Yeah.
But you got to be the sucker in the story.
Right. Yeah.
But usually suckers, what happens is that over time, you also, that statement, treat people how you want to be treated, it's not the truth.
No, it's not. Because
it'll leave you constantly waiting and begging and pleading with people for them to treat you the way that you treated them.
Right.
And 90% of the time, that never happens.
Right. That's a false statement.
Yes.
Because nobody treats you the way you want to be treated. I don't find nobody where I want to treat them. If I treat you excellent, you're not gonna come back with that.
No, it's who they are.
Right.
Right? There are people who may respond.
I mean, we wish that.
Yeah, who respond to your kindness.
Right.
And it's nice if they get that.
That's
but we also have to learn how to recognize who people are as they are.
Right.
Right? If you had any final words for people, exactly what would you want to tell the people? Like, for me, when you look over your whole life,
right,
what do you see?
I look over my whole life. I see sadness, strength, kindness, and at the end, I'm beginning to see power that I should have used when I had it.
Oh, power, huh? On that note, guys, I'm tired of talking to you. Bye.